Hello, I'm Keyoka, the awkward black nomad. I'm a writer, I'm a dog mom, and I travel solo. My channel is a place for me to talk about my experiences traveling with my dogs. I also invite other black travelers to come on the channel to talk about travel and living abroad. If that sounds like something you are interested in, like the video, drop down in the comments below and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. Click that notification button so you are notified whenever I go live. We have an amazing guest today, one that you might have seen before. She's no stranger to the channel. Everybody, this is Maya.
Hi, everyone.
There's a way for me to do applause, but I don't know if the people are ready. Are the
They're not
people
ready.
ready? They might not be
I don't
ready. And
know.
also, I don't want to break anything. So I'm not going to do it. But I'm clapping for you. Hi, everybody in the comment section. Hi, Travelmatic. We in here. What's up, my brother?
What's up? What's
What's up?
up?
We've been having men on the channel, and Travelmatic
Mm-hmm.
is a man. He's been a long time subscriber though, so that's the
That's
homie.
what's up.
But welcome to the channel, our new additions. Um, the luxury bucket list. Hey girl, hey, I'm thinking of going there soon to get my locks redone. How are the hair prices? So we're jumping into Tanzania soon.
We're jumping in.
Listen,
We're
she's
jumping
ready.
in.
She's she's ready. I'm gonna come back to your question. Hi Khadijah. Hi everybody. Black folk, we speak when we come into the room. So as you filter in, please say hello to us. Like the video, obviously. But if you have any questions for Maya, put a Q in front of your question and I will get to it during the live. So Maya, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your travel experiences? Where are you right now?
Right now, I'm in Tirana, Albania again, which is where I reside permanently and also where Keoka and I met. But I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, and I work remotely for an education company. I've been to 41 countries total. And Tanzania actually was the first country I ever lived in outside of the US way back in 2017. And since then, I've been back, I think, like 5 times. I love it. I think a lot of people, when they go there, they love it and they return. So I'm excited to get to talk to you about it today.
Yes. And I actually remember you mentioning that you had, was it an internship or like a study abroad? That was your first time going?
Yes, it was an internship, which my university, subsidized for me. We can definitely get into that, but yes, it was a music internship, and that's how I came to know the place and met so many friends. And the friends that I met then, I'm still friends with to this day. So it was a cool experience.
That's phenomenal. I love it. So was it kind of like, did you always have an interest in visiting Tanzania, or was it kind of like this is where the program is going to be? So you didn't really have any background information, or was it a place that you always wanted to go to?
It really wasn't. I had, honestly barely heard of it. Like, just to be completely honest, the way that it went down was like I had a friend in university, a white male friend, and he was going to be doing the Peace Corps in Tanzania. And I was like,
Why do
I
you have to
cannot let
say
this,
it?
bro, because I was like, I can't let this white boy go to Africa before me. So,
Which is really how everybody, you know what? That's how we all need to approach it. Okay?
we got to
That's
go to
how
the
every
continent,
we
guys.
all need to go to the continent. You guys, I don't know if you've noticed this, but my entire content calendar for this month is focused on Africa. So you will be seeing a lot of people who either live or travel frequently to the continent this month. It is my version of Black History Month since last month. I was
I
resting.
like it.
So this month
That's what's
going
up.
heavy. Yeah.
That's
So,
what's up.
okay, so
Yeah.
basically this guy was in the Peace Corps and he was saying like, "Hey, you have to go." Or you felt like you have to go?
He hadn't even gone yet. Like he'd been accepted, but he was graduating, that coming June, and he was supposed to go after that. So I was like, I mean, let me just look for internships, like summer internships generally within Africa. So I actually went to my student employment, or sorry, my university student employment website, and literally just searched like summer internships and just like clicked a bunch of, or maybe they had an option just to click the continent of Africa. And so I found some in Tanzania, which was where he was going, in Dar es Salaam, which is not the capital city, but it is the commercial capital, the biggest city in Tanzania. And so I was like, yeah, why not? I saw this cool opportunity. I was studying music and they had a music program. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. And so I applied. I mean, there's really no need to apply. It's pretty much a volunteer position. So they're accepting everyone really. But that's what happened. I got the funding from my school. And that was that on that. I went.
Yeah. Alicia
Yeah.
says, if chat can do it, then really I can too.
Thank you. You got it. You got it.
But how was your, so I'm, well, I don't know. So was that like your first time going abroad, essentially by yourself?
Yeah, definitely my first time by myself. The only other time I had been abroad was with my grandmother. We had gone to the UK. So I mean, this was completely different and by myself. So it was definitely a culture shock.
How did your family, how did your parents react to it? Because I imagine, I don't know. I imagine my family would be like, "Girl, you're not going." First of all, um, secondly,
Obviously.
Africa,
Yeah,
Tanzania, that's far. You're not
it's
going.
far.
So what was the reception?
I mean, my parents were supportive. They were concerned, but my parents, let me do. I mean, once I graduated, they were like, you do you. But they made sure, obviously, that I got my health things checked out because, you got to make sure that you're prepared for, all kinds of different things going on over there. Mainly malaria is like the main concern. So I had to make sure I got my malaria medication. And I'm trying to think, was there anything else? Oh, they send you with some medication for like, just travelers' uh, stomach sickness, which you can get in many other countries as well. So my parents just made sure that I had all those things in a row, but I think it actually went worse than they expected. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
Yes. There were a lot of things I was not prepared for, and not all of these things are necessarily the same today, but at that time, it was a bit less developed than it is now. Furthermore, I didn't realize like with my cell phone was through AT&T, so it was locked to AT&T. I couldn't put a SIM card for any other line in it, so I had no way to contact them. Um, I, I mean, the organization I was working with wasn't, uh, the best organization in many ways. And then my phone got stolen and I had just no way to contact anyone or do anything. So that first time around was rough.
But how did you handle that? What was the outcome?
So although the organization, like the leader of the organization, was not necessarily the most moral person, a lot of the people, well, now, listen, let me tell you guys something. If you're going to go work with an NGO, a nonprofit organization, do your research. And if it's in the continent of Africa, try to go for one where the owner is African. Now, this is my bad because this guy's name was really ambiguous and it sounded to me like African, but it wasn't. He's just a European man. Honestly, just making money off this like NGO that he started and scamming foreigners and not, properly compensating the locals that work for him. So do your due diligence. Even if you find one good review of an organization you're going to work for, find five, find 10. Search and try to find one that's bad, because there are a lot of some of these organizations put in a lot of work to hide what they're really doing, and you need to be you need to be on your toes with that. But as far as the phone situation, fortunately, one of the volunteers I was working with like accidentally left his phone there. And so he was like, yeah, you can just use it. He was from the UK, and there were other people from the UK that were going to leave and bring it back to him. So I had that for the time in between when he left and when they left. And then my mom actually sent me another phone, like, I had insurance on it or whatever. So she was able to send me another phone, but she should have sent it like through DHL or something, but she just sent it through the regular post service, which took forever. And it was almost to the
This
point where I wasn't going to be able to get it before I left. And so I had one of the guys working with the organization, who's local. We just had this one day where we went to several different post offices around the city, trying to track this down, and we eventually found it. And then we had to pay a hefty tax on it because it's an imported, brand new electronic. So that's essentially how that shook out in the end.
this was also, would you say 2017?
Yes.
Okay, so like some things are a little different. And
Mhm.
I'm touching on this because I'm thinking, okay, if there is a kid who is probably like college age or like early
Mhm.
20s, let's kind of provide some information. So, like, maybe they want to have their kind of first solo travel experience be through a nonprofit organization. So, some of
Mhm.
the things to look out for, I noticed you said, make sure it's reputable, make sure that you can track the ownership of it, sounds like,
Yes.
right? And
Indeed.
yes, and then also looking into like your cell phone provider. So another
Mhm.
thing is like now technology has advanced to where we really
Mhm.
don't have the kind of SIM cards that you need to insert. Like I think
Yep.
a lot of phones have the what is it called?
eSIM.
eSIMs. Yeah, so you can get an eSIM now. You can get a SIM card from the airport. Um,
Mhm.
I would just do Google Fi for like if you're only going to be there
Mm.
for if you're going to be there for like under 3 months. There's other options. Maybe this is a separate video, but being in a foreign country without your phone,
Girl. Wait, you want to know
scary.
how I got it stolen too? You want to know of all the ways I could have gotten it stolen? You want to know what happened? Future, of all people, came to Dar es Salaam
The
randomly in
celebrity
the time I
future?
was there. Yes, and had a concert. And oh, and your boy Diamond Platinums was the opener. That's right. That's the first time I ever saw your boy.
Crazy.
Your boy, yeah. And as yeah, I was there or whatever, and partying, having a good time. As I left, I had my phone just in a bag, like a crossbody bag, and like we went through this tunnel where there were just hundreds of people all going through the tunnel at the same time, and then by the time I got to the other side of the tunnel, the phone was gone. I was so shocked, and just like, because in the US we don't really have pickpocketing that much. Like if someone's gonna
Yeah.
steal something from you, it's gonna be confrontational, there might be weapons involved, like it's just gonna be, you're gonna know what's happening.
Or it's going
But
to be
when you're getting
cyber, like a
pickpocketing,
cyber theft. Like they're
that
going
too.
to get your
Yeah, that too.
banking information, your social
Yeah.
security number, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, something like that. So this I was not prepared for at all. And that's, I mean, so moving, potentially onto another topic, safety, of course, is always a concern wherever you're traveling. Dar es Salaam is like pretty safe. Tanzania generally is like really one of the safest African countries you can go to, but I would say one of the main concerns would be pickpocketing, especially in concerts and like football games, places where a lot of people are gathered together, like people that want to do pickpocketing target those events. And that's always, I mean, I always, every time I go, I'm hearing about someone getting sorry someone getting their phone stolen at one of those events. So that's something to keep in mind. They have a lot of really cool events, a lot of really cool concerts. The football games are also really lit, but if you're going there, like, know what you're doing. It would be good to have something, some way to secure your valuables.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Do you remember your very first impression of Tanzania?
I was like, it's hot. Like, I got there.
I
Oh, I
imagine.
didn't even, bro, I even forgot this part too. I can't believe I forgot this. Is that, so there was it was also, I mean, again, this is 2017. So there's a lot of confusing information online about, visa requirements and things. And so my organization I was working with was supposed to get the visa for me, but they didn't. And then online it had said, and mind you, I had paid them to get it done. But online it said, that you can pay with card to get the visa, but you can't. You can only pay with cash. And as it turned out, like, my debit card wouldn't work at any of the ATMs. So I was just there, no cash, no nothing. And so I had to give my debit card because it didn't work at any of the machines at the airport. I had to give the debit card to the person from the organization that was picking me up to go take outside the airport with my PIN numbers and
Sketchy.
go try it. I know it is. And go try it at other ATMs, but none of them worked. And like, he brought me the receipts, and I mean, he was a really good guy. He ended up being the guy that also tried to help, or yeah, did successfully help me find my phone when my mom sent it. So he was a really good guy, but yeah, that was a really concerning situation. And they ended up just letting me go in the country. They were like, okay, just come back in a week, like, figure your stuff out. They just gave me my passport and they just said, go ahead. Yeah,
Could you
they're
go
good people.
into, they're good people. Could you go into Tanzania with just a passport? Do you have to get a visa?
You need a visa.
Hmm.
But now things have changed, so now you can do it online. They have the e-visa, but you can also get the visa on arrival. Um, it's $100.
Okay. Oh, so that would be like if you just didn't apply for the visa online, but you just flew there, they would give you the visa on arrival, but you have to actually pay for it. It's not like in Albania when you can just walk through.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just
you
grab
do
a
have to
pass.
pay. Yeah, yeah. You do have to pay for it. They used to not do e-visa. They used to only do visa on arrival. So, um, you would just show up and figure it out. Now, because they do e-visa, it does make things a lot smoother. And even the last two times I went, I still did visa on arrival, but because everyone else did e-visa, the line for visa on arrival was super short, super oh, and you can pay with card now. A lot has changed since the first time I came. The airport is way better, but yeah, that first time I came, I was like, "What is going on? It's really hot here." And then, as it turned out as well, like, once we got to the compound where the organization was, um, like, I was not able to go sleep in my bedroom that night. So yeah, so the guy who came to get me and drove me, like, he ended up getting me a hotel room. And um which, I know, again, really good guy, like, he, I mean, it was a crazy situation, but he really held me down through it, so shout out to Peter.
Shout out to Peter. So,
Yes,
this sounds really terrible. Why did you go back?
I know,
Because
right? Isn't that a great question?
I have not heard a reason to go to Tanzania. What?
I know, it is kind of crazy. Like, when I left there that first time, I was like, I'm never going back. And then I ended up going back because it's like I had friends, and there's so many, I mean, there's so many beautiful things about the country. The thing that, like, first stuck out to me, that was something I was like, I love this and I want this in my life all the time, was just like the music, and just the feeling of, like, every time you are outside, you hear music. Even if it's like very distant and it's just a bass line, there's always music playing. People are always dancing. Like, it's always good vibes. The food's good. At the time, though, I was missing my American food, but now that I've experienced Albanian food, I'm like, yeah, Tanzanian food's really good. The music, the dancing, the people, obviously every country has good and bad people, but the good people in Tanzania are so good, and the way they stick together and support their community is really inspiring.
Okay. So, what
So, yeah.
was the first not terrible experience that you had in Tanzania where you felt like, oh, okay, I wouldn't mind coming back to this place?
I mean, honestly, I would say, yeah, there were the first days of just also adjusting to the heat and everything, constantly being hot and sweaty and dirty all the time. Once I adjusted to that, I mean, although the organization I was working for was flawed deeply. I mean, the program itself, like I was working with a local band, and that was really amazing. The musicians are so dedicated, working no, not day and night, let me show, every day on their craft, like the way they write songs together in this like really collaborative environment, and the way they I mean, it's a huge band of like 10 or more people, and the way they create together was like so beautiful to watch. So that obviously was one of the things. Yeah, music, man. I mean, that trip really changed my life. Like, I never really listened to African music before that. And then ever since then, that's been, the majority of the music I listen to. So that, and yeah, also many of the people I met, not only, um, the locals, but also the other volunteers. Like, some of them I still keep up with to this day. So something about that environment, especially when you're 21 or, in university, it's like such a crazy experience, but like the bonding that it
Mm,
forms, is really strong.
really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. What, so, I mean, but the things that you've listed, it kind of sounds like it's just getting adjusted to a new environment, which really
Hmm.
could be like you could have that same experience in like a Mexico. You could have that same experience. Like
Yeah.
it's your first time abroad,
Right.
totally different climate, totally different situation. Like you've never been without your phone at this point. You've never been without like internet access. So it's just adjusting and not necessarily like this is a horrible place where everybody's out to get me. It's just like no, not that. But
100%.
right, like
Yeah.
it's just adjusting to a different environment.
Yes.
And what I'm hearing is that a huge part of the way that you were able to adjust is by forming stronger bonds within the community. So it sounds like there were a lot of expats in that first visit,
Hmm.
but also quite a few locals. So
Hmm.
could you speak to some of the friendships that you've made with Tanzanian people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my closest friend is Hadija. I hope she's gonna watch this. But she just, wow, she is an incredible woman. Like the way she, I mean, and we were young at that time too. Like when I think about it, I mean, it's 7 years later, we were really young at that time. And the way she was just holding everything down, making sure everyone was safe, like the way she takes responsibility for the people that, trust her is just amazing. And the way she cares for her community and prioritizes that and prioritizes children. She's so passionate about children. She's actually going to be opening her own school very soon, which is really exciting. Like, she's so driven and so dedicated. And, honestly, like, I really admired her at that time. And, then I would come back, here and there. And, there were some years where I didn't come because of coronavirus and some other factors. So it had been a long time since I had seen her when I went, last year. And during that last trip, though, we really, really bonded. And yeah, this past year in January, I was gonna come for my birthday, but her birthday is also in January. And so I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it because, as you know, my friend Indora is like I'm very close with her as well and her children, and her son's birthday was January 4th. So I had a really tight turnaround to get from there to go to Athens, where I was taking my flight to Tanzania, but I made it. I didn't tell her anything. Like, I made it. I went to my Airbnb. I put my stuff down. I met up with one of our other friends and we drove there, and I just like popped out and she was shocked. She was just like she was so pleasantly surprised. She was so happy, and like that was like such an amazing moment. So she's my best friend in Tanzania for sure, but I also have also a lot of male friends. I mean, most of the friends I've made are friends that work with that organization or previously worked with that organization. Um but also this most recent time I was there, also like I found myself like it's I mean, you know how it is in Albania too. It's kind of hard when you're a foreigner to make friends with locals. It's kind of like, how do I navigate this? They already have their friend group and stuff. But I found more this time around, like I was making more friends with like local people, like even local girls. Because I mean, well, men is easy to make friends with because they have other intentions. But I was
I
making
don't
more
know
friends
what
with
you
local
mean.
girls. Oh,
I'm not
girl.
familiar. So,
Girl.
making friends.
Yeah.
So, you said in Tanzania it's easy to make friends even as a foreigner. Um, so how do you do that? How do you go about making
No,
friends? Like,
I
what do you do?
do well. There Okay, so it's kind of different than like many other cities, for example, in the US. Like in Tanzania, if you're an expat, there's typically like everyone kind of goes to the same events. So you're gonna see the same people. And not only expats, but also locals also go to those events. And what I like about the expat community in Dar es Salaam is that the people there really love being there. They really want to be there. They learn Swahili. They make friends with locals. They love the local music. Like they are invested in the local culture. So it's really easy to make friends with those people, and those people also have friends that are locals, and it's easy to make friends with them as well. So like they have really cool events. The Goethe Institute, the Alliance Française, are two organizations that you can find not only in Tanzania but in many other cities and countries around the world, where you can go to make friends. They have the Goethe Institute here in Tirana as well, so that's a good place to go to make friends because that attracts expats and people who are also looking for friends. So just going places like that, I mean, even just going to the beach. People in Tanzania are really friendly and really inviting, and they love to party. So if you've got an event you want them to come to, like they're gonna try to make it, you know. Yeah, they're very flexible and very fun.
Do you have you hosted your own events there?
No, but maybe I should.
I don't know.
What do you want?
I had Blair in Belgrade on the channel, and she hosts tea parties around
Oh,
Europe.
cute.
And she was like, "This is how I make friends. I host a tea party and I say who wants to
Cutesy.
come." I mean, it's an
That's
idea.
so cute. That's so cute. I know. I'm thinking about it. I am thinking about like. I mean, so well. Plug plug here in Tirana. Now we do have some African parties. Follow me on Instagram if you want updates about those. But yeah, I'm thinking we need more of that. We need more events like that here in Albania. And then I'm thinking too in Tanzania, what could I do? More. I mean, there's so many parties there all the time. So many. Guys,
That
I'm telling you, like that's one of the best things that people love and they keep coming back to Dar es Salaam for is the parties. It gets
you
crazy.
kept going to what's that carry Sabacha,
Some
Hibachi,
girl,
what
Samaki
was it?
Samaki.
Yeah. You kept going to Samaki. I was like, why are you do
Yes.
this is like all you do every night. You're at Samaki.
That bro, that is
What's
the
up?
hottest event every week. And it's a Wednesday, karaoke. It's the hottest event every week, I swear. Yeah, you're gonna meet everyone there.
So every
Everybody gonna be there.
Wednesday, so they just don't go to work on Thursday? Like what's tea?
No, they definitely do. And I definitely did as well. It gets crazy.
so you go to Samaki Samaki the night
Hmm.
before, and what
Yeah.
time do you usually get home?
Oh, it really varies. I mean,
Hmm.
so the karaoke goes until midnight-ish, and then after that is when they have the DJ playing and stuff. I mean, you can leave you can leave whenever you want, but you can leave after the karaoke, or usually
When
I
do
would stay.
Tanzanians leave? When are the Tanzanians gone?
Mm, it really varies because some people do have office jobs, some people have more flexible work. Sometimes they're just like, F it. I'm gonna go all night and then not even go to sleep and just gonna go to work in the morning. Sometimes it's like that too. Usually I would say the DJ, I would usually wait until like the piano part of the DJ set, hear all the songs I wanted to hear, and then once he switched to something else, I'm like, all right, I'm dipping. So that would be like two ish. I'd leave.
Okay. So lots of part. Now I'm surprised to hear this because, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't
Mhm.
there like a really big Muslim population
Mhm.
in Tanzania?
There is. There is. You would find so Dar es Salaam is like kind of 50% Christian, 50% Muslim. Zanzibar, for example, is very Muslim, and they are much more generally traditional and conservative with their values and culture. Other parts of Tanzania are more Christian, more Muslim, but Dar es Salaam is pretty liberal. I mean, Dar es Salaam is super diverse. It's not only Tanzanians. There is a large Indian population. There's a large Chinese population. Many Arabs. Some of whom are there, like their ancestors have been there from time. Some of them, are moving there more recently for business and other ventures. And then obviously there's also many Europeans, Westerners who come for work or for volunteering or for vacation. So Dar es Salaam is super diverse and subsequently quite liberal, and the parties do get pretty crazy.
Okay, okay. So you're painting a very clear picture for me. It seems like Dar es Salaam is like a melting pot, right? Like
Yes.
it's lots of different cultures. What's the food like? Is it
Ooh.
ooh ooh?
It's good. It's good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's Swahili cuisine. It is spicy and delicious. I mean, we're right there on the coast, so there's good seafood. There's obviously lots of rice dishes, lots of chapati is the bread that they use, sort of like a flat bread. Ugali is like the swallow that they use. Every African country has their own version of a swallow. And also the cuisine is quite impacted by
When you say
Indian
swallow,
foods,
you mean like
like
pop?
fufu, or
Like fufu or
like,
like a
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So yeah, but I mean, yeah, they also have a lot of influence from Indian food because Indian people have been there for quite some time. Um, and also Arab cuisine, the spice trade. I mean, there's so much history there. But the food is spicy and delicious. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a fan.
Is it one of those places like because there's so many different cultures that you could get Chinese food there? Or
Oh
like
yeah. Oh girl, the Chinese food is fire. The Chinese population in Dar es Salaam is huge. Like there will be entire buildings like completely owned by Chinese people, like malls with all kinds of different establishments, all owned by Chinese people, hotels owned by Chinese people, restaurants, casinos. I went to the Chinese casino. You may have heard about that in my close friend's story, but anyways,
the way I mind my business.
okay, as you should, as you should.
Okay, so like when you're there, what does your day to day kind of look like?
Mm. Yeah, so now, I mean, things have changed significantly since obviously the first time I went. Now I work remotely. So, usually I would wake up, make myself a coffee, do my work. But I mean, a lot of times I would go out to a cafe. They have really good smoothies, fresh fruit juice, fresh smoothies. So I usually get a coffee and a smoothie, do my work, eat a delicious meal. Maybe I could work somewhere next to the beach. That's one thing I will say though, the beaches in Dar es Salaam are not the best for swimming. But they're still nice to look at. I mean, it's just, it's a port city. It's quite, the beaches tend to be not so clean. Um, but there is an island very close by Dar es Salaam, that you can take a small boat to. Called Mbuja. So that's a recommendation if you do go to Dar es Salaam and you're looking for the beaches that are more like Zanzibar. Mbuja is an alternative option for you. But I would go do my work, whatever. And then there tends to be, I would hang out usually in the neighborhood of Masaki, which is where, a lot of expats and locals alike congregate. And usually I'd run into someone I know, and then it'd be like, oh, well, what are we gonna do tonight? I guess now we met up, now we're gonna go do something. And if my friend has a car, that's perfect. I can just throw my backpack in there. We're gonna go hit up this place, we're gonna go hit up this place, we're gonna go do that. Alcohol's super cheap.
We love a good
And
bar.
have and
Do
yeah, man, and have a good night.
so do you need a car? I mean, to get around the
Oh
city,
no.
or is the public transportation good enough to where you could just like hop a bus?
I have not taken the bus in many years. They do have buses. They have Dala Dalas, which is kind of like a mini bus situation. It's very affordable, but it tends to be quite crowded. So it's not my preference. They also have like rapid buses only in certain parts of the city. So it's basically like if cars are going, sorry, if cars are going like this, then inside the car lanes, there's a lane just for the rapid buses to go on. So it's quite fast, but it doesn't
Okay.
get you everywhere you need to go to in the city. But Uber and Bolt exist in Dar es Salaam, and with Uber and Bolt, you can take a car, a bajaji, which is like a tuk-tuk. For those of you that know, it's like a very small car that has three wheels, or a boda boda, which is a motorcycle. I usually would just take the motorcycle. I would just order it with Bolt. They come pick you up. You can even pay through the app. So usually I wouldn't even pay with cash. They come pick me up, take me where I want to go, get off. It pays through the app. That's it. And it's
And
quite
that's,
affordable
yeah,
relative to, other places.
that's what I was gonna ask. How much would you say if you had a range?
Well, it depends where you want to go, but like let's say, for example, a 10-minute ride on a Boda Boda is gonna be like less than $1. But it's a motorcycle. Okay, this isn't a car. If you
So
get the
as
car,
an
it's gonna be more.
elder, so as
Mm,
an elder, okay, and I don't know if Tanzania is anything like South Africa. This is my experience. I've been to Morocco. I've been to South Africa. Okay,
mm,
I could take Uber Black in South Africa and
mm.
it be under $10.
Wow, that's
Okay,
crazy. That's crazy.
I felt so
Wow.
rich. I probably shouldn't even
Yeah,
say this. You guys
I
don't
know.
even listen.
It's
Don't even
hard.
go
It's
to.
hard.
Don't even go to Cape Town. Don't even go. Okay, because I love it and I don't want you to go and overpopulate and so and throw the
Tea.
economy off. It's probably already happened. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to put it into perspective for the elders because I'm not getting on
Mhm.
nobody's motorcycle. I'm not getting on
Okay.
nobody's tuk tuk. What'd you call it? A Uda Buddha? We're not doing that. You trying to get me? I have, listen, life expectancy is only about, I probably got another like 20, 30 years. Okay, I'm not trying to break
You
nothing.
can do the tuk tuk, bro. The tuk tuk's fine. It's just bumpy. It is bumpy on those back roads, like the back roads that be dirt and rock.
This is
It
not
be
a good
bumpy.
setup. This is this is not a good setup. No. You can do a tuk tuk. Girl, I would rather I'll
I
walk.
can't. I'll do. No, I can't, bro. I hate how bumpy it is. I would way rather do the boda, do the motorcycle because I cannot. It'd be so bumpy, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Have you ever
The tuk
had
tuk.
a sketchy driver where you felt like
Hmm.
he was gonna ride you off into the sunset on his motorcycle? And not
Hmm.
a romantic way,
No, no,
in a this is a serial killer way.
no. So I had heard, no, not in a serial killer way, but I had heard like the first time I came, I had heard like, some horror stories of people getting like having a driver that like basically yeah kidnaps them and then drives them to an ATM and makes them take out all their money. But I'm not 100% sure if that was true because this was said by the sketchy guy that owned the organization. And so it's like, is this, I can't believe anything you say. So I've never heard of something like that happening. What would be more likely to happen would be if your number is connected to your account and the guy likes you, he might text you later from your number and be like, "Hey,
That
I love
happens
you."
that happens all over the place.
That happens
Even
here
that's what I
all
was
the
gonna say, even in
time.
Albania where the
That
girls
happens here so
no,
bad, bro.
because in Albania the delivery guys and the taxi dudes will have a profile picture with their girlfriend like this.
Yep. Real,
and they
real.
and they'll still text you and the guy will
Yeah. Oh,
still
yeah.
text you.
Shamelessly. Shamelessly, dude.
Shameless. Shameless.
So, yeah, as you
Anyways.
said, that happens everywhere.
Yeah. Anyways. So since we're talking about men already, what would you
Mm.
say the dating vibe is like in Tanzania? How's the dating scene?
I, yeah. I think it is interesting. I think honestly, okay, when we discussed Albania, I was like, I hear a lot of the same stories over and over again from my girlfriends. But honestly, in Tanzania, I mean, there are some patterns, but Tanzania is quite big, and there's a lot of different types of guys there, and a lot of different types of women as well. So I would say, if you're coming there as an expat, there's going to be a lot of different options, some good, some bad. Um, I, I mean, they have every kind of guy there, really. Like I've heard other people have also asked me like, "What's your opinion of Tanzanian men?" I'm like, they're all different. I mean, there's some general patterns that some people fall into, but they're all different. I think the dating scene there is really fun. The only thing is, um, as I said, you kind of have these events that everyone goes to every week. So the difficulty might be that if it doesn't go well with someone, you're going to see them anyway all the time when you go out.
I hate that.
Um,
I hate that.
but on the other hand, you could look at it another way. You could say, okay, for example, let's say you meet your dream man, and then you got to go back to your country, but you guys are trying long distance. You're going to see what happens or whatever. Um, if he tries to cheat on you, like he's probably gonna get caught. Like if you got your friends on the lookout there, not only that, but you can go listen. If you know he's going to events, you can go on the organization's Instagram page and watch all the stories and try to find your man's, bro. I'm just saying. I'm
This
just
is not a
saying.
safe place. No, this is not a safe place. Like,
I'm
you
just
can't
saying,
even go
bro.
outside. People will see
I know.
you. There's no
I know
creeping
that's the
around.
difficulty. I know it is really difficult. Like it is just like you do run into so many of the same people over and over again. So I mean, honestly, that's part of what made me not want to date there. It's just like, man, if I go on a date with a guy and it doesn't work out, then am I gonna look like a hoe if I go on a date with another guy and then he sees me? It's just like, I mean, it's similar to Albania, but
But
even more so. even more so because it's just like, how is this such a big city, but all the same people end up in all the same places, you know?
Yeah, but I also am thinking of it like this, like not even on some like I want to have a bunch of different men, but I just
Sure.
don't like people be knowing where I am all the time.
Oh
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
for sure.
Like that's a little invasive. But I
Absolutely.
guess
And we're
I yeah.
and we're not used to it. Like we're from big cities where there's a million different things to do every night. And in Tanzania there also is, but I'm just saying when it comes to the expat community, it does tend to be most of the same things, most of the same places. So
Interesting. I see
it
y'all in
is.
the chat. Hey, Angela, come on, options. Listen, we love
There's
an
options.
ice cream parlor. We love to take samples. Hi, Dr. Blue AL, Alabama,
Hey, that's my
Albania.
friend. Yeah.
Oh,
Albania,
hi.
yeah.
Hi, career coach Vet Jet. What's up? She's in Texas.
Oh, hey,
Um,
girl.
the luxury bucket list says that tells me gentrification is real economic opportunity. Yeah, I've actually heard that a lot about investors from China coming into
Mm,
places in Africa. There's even the what is it called, that investing alliance that they're doing now?
I'm not
Uh
sure.
I keep thinking Blacksit. That's not it. It's something that
Mhm.
not Africa as a whole, but there's countries being added into it. But
Oh, ECOWAS or
maybe, maybe
maybe.
I
But
can't.
no, I mean that's a great point. I mean the yeah. So I mean, pretty much every African country has a ton of minerals. I mean, this is happening in every single African country where big investors from not only China, China is a big one though, also European countries, also Arab countries are coming there and just mining, just getting the minerals out. And so they're making bank, and the
Yeah.
locals are barely seeing any of that. So yes, that is very accurate.
Even, and this is because I watch reality TV, but like Love is Blind Habibi, all
Oh,
those guys were like, "Oh, my family's in minerals and we
yep,
export." Well, where do you think they're exporting from?
exactly, exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
exactly.
Yes, that's tea. That's tea.
Faith is asking a good question. Can we see the names
Hmm.
of the cities, buses, or motorcycles mentioned in print?
Hmm.
So I'm guessing this is
I
about like
will.
navigating the city. So like if you had to take a bus or even if you are using an app on your phone, is it in English?
Oh yes,
Yeah. So you
yes,
can
it
get
is.
around.
And yeah, and I mean the names of different neighborhoods and different places. You know, the okay, basically it's spelled like how it sounds, like kind of like Spanish, so it's not like, for example, in Russia where it's a completely different script, or in France, for example, where you're like, hey, why are there so many silent letters and things like Swahili is spelled how it sounds, so that makes it really helpful. But I'm happy, yeah, to any of the names of cities, and the names of the buses and the motorcycles and stuff. I'm happy to leave a comment after we're done writing all of that down.
And so is this a place where you feel like if you don't know any Swahili, if you don't know another language, could you get around just speaking English? Do you think you'll run
You
into
can.
any issues? You can.
No. The only issue maybe would be, I mean, we do have to consider, tourist tax or like scams, It's helpful if you know Swahili for those purposes, but you can definitely get by with just English in Dar es Salaam and in Zanzibar. Outside of those cities, I don't have a ton of experience, but I would say, like, I mean, just for your reference, because you've been here, I would say more people there speak passable English than here in Albania.
Oh, that's actually
Yeah,
that's really good. That's actually really
it
good.
is. It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
Okay. Okay. Angela says I actually rode in a tuk-tuk a couple of weeks ago. Even as an elder, it was kind of fun. Okay.
You gotta try it, girl. Come on.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, the US is trying to
Yeah.
do the same thing. We were trying to hem Ukraine up over access to their minerals the
Yes.
other week.
Yes.
Sounds on brand.
Real. real.
Sounds on brand. Khadija asks, how is the language barrier? I've heard people prefer that you speak Swahili. So it's not necessary, but is
Yeah.
there a preference? Do you feel like they treat you different if you don't speak Swahili?
Hmm. No, not really, honestly. I mean, again, just in terms of like maybe they might try to scam you more, but honestly, it's really, yeah, it is really common for the people that move there to learn Swahili, but I don't think you get treated poorly for not speaking Swahili. It helps to know Swahili. Like, there was a time where I heard someone talking smack about me, and I only knew that because I could understand a bit of Swahili. Um, so it's helpful, but not needed in, again, Dar es Salaam and Zanzibar. I mean, Tanzania is a huge country, so there might be other places where you really do need it, but in those places you should be okay.
Okay, wait, sidebar. I remember, so like my ex was talking to his friend in Pigeon, and I was like, because I had been around him, I was picking it up,
Mm.
and I was like, don't talk to me about, I was yelling at him because I thought he was talking about me to his friend, and he was like,
Mm,
I'm not talking about you. Like, you're listening in on my
yeah,
conversation, and
I
I'm not
know the
talking about
paranoia
you.
is real. The paranoia is real. No, it does get like that. Like when you don't know what people saying at all, you're just like, okay,
Hmm.
I don't know. But then when you start to know a little bit, like I mean, I feel that way in Albania all the time. Like, are people talking about me? What
Right?
are they saying? What are you
But
saying? But then they say something nice usually. So I'm like, oh, okay.
exactly. That's the thing. And so like in Albania, I found that like this is not an Albanian interview,
Yeah,
y'all. I apologize. But I feel like when people are looking at you and they're saying something, I feel like they're saying something nice.
I know they
Like I
usually
always
are.
feel that they're saying something nice.
They usually are. Like that time I wasn't even in Albania. I was in Montenegro actually, but it was an Albanian speaking place in Montenegro. And like they didn't know I spoke Albanian, but it was like a mom and daughter talking about me. And the daughter was like, is she beautiful? And the mom was like, yeah, she's beautiful. I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah, well, it usually be guys too, but they usually don't say anything crazy. They just be like, oh, mashallah,
Oh, child. So
mashallah.
do you think like if you are somebody who is trying to live in Tanzania long term, you should probably pick up the language? Like that's a good,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I think that for most places in the world, like if you're living long term, I would highly, I mean, not only to show respect to the locals, but for yourself, like it really enriches your experience so much. You get to see things from such a different perspective. You get to understand the place where you are so much better. So I definitely recommend that. And you know, I mean, it's probably the easiest sub-Saharan African language to learn because there are resources for it. Like it is well researched. Duolingo on it is not half bad. Like Duolingo for Swahili actually came out around the time I first went to Tanzania, and it was trash. And now it's gotten really decent. So, you know, use Duolingo. There's a lot of resources relative to other African languages, so I definitely recommend it. It's definitely worth it.
Swahili is also like one of the prettiest languages I've ever
Yeah,
heard. Like it just sounds
yeah,
so
lovely.
sweet. Like it just sounds
Mm,
really. I can't. It
I
just
don't
sounds.
know.
It's does to me. It just sounds like
Girl,
the
you listen to too much
juicy.
Diamonds. You listen to too much Diamond, because I don't know about all that.
Diamond is not my crush from the show. Luis is.
Okay,
Okay. Although
understood, understood.
because I understand boundaries. That's why.
See, I don't even watch the show, and I'm not even going to. Like, all the bro. I remember when I have known about Diamond so long. I remember when he and Zari broke up. I cried that day, bro. That was like
Really?
2018. Yeah, that was 2018, bro. That hurted.
There's so much drama I wish I was like tapped in on, but we just don't have
Mm,
access to in the US. But like
yeah,
that's one of the love stories that I really wish I was like on social media and I was aware of them so I could know all the ins and outs.
there's a lot there,
It's so
man.
juicy. It's so juicy.
Yeah.
Um okay, so we talked a little bit about dating. What would you say like what would you say like the dating culture is? So I feel like traditional standards are you go on a date, the man pays for the date. Is there any sort of nuances like, you
Hmm.
know, do the men bring you home? Do you go
Hmm.
50-50? Like what's the we're talking about
Hmm.
we're talking about young, famous, and African. Anyways, because this we the whole interview will be derailed. Okay,
Yeah,
the whole interview will be
100%.
derailed. So
Hmm.
yeah, so like let's talk about like dating compared to I guess like here in the U.S. versus in Tanzania.
Hmm.
What's your impression?
Okay, sure. Well, now let me tell you, it's been a really long time since I've dated in the US. Like, I just haven't been there. So I don't even know what's going on in the US, honestly. Like, I have no idea, genuinely. I'm like, what even happens there? Like, I literally haven't dated there since before the pandemic. Like, it's been a long time. So I don't know. But I will say, okay, in terms of men paying, not paying, I mean, it actually really depends. So I would say, yeah, exactly. I would say, now listen, this is something to beware of. This is something that I definitely want the ladies to be on guard for is okay, if you're a foreigner going there, okay, you're a Mzungu usually. Mzungu, people think it means white person, but it actually means any light-skinned foreigner. So like I'm a Mzungu, even you're a Mzungu. Like
I'm not a
it
Muzungo. We're not gonna fight about this. I'm from New Orleans. I am very much brown skinned. I am
yeah, but only dark-skinned
darker.
people, yeah. Only dark-skinned people are not Mzungu. Anyways.
I won't let this
So,
come
but
between us.
girl, it's nothing personal, but there's something to be aware of. Yes, if you are of that, if you're Mizungu and you're there, there are definitely certain guys that target Muzungus and um tend to always go for those girls. And they must be sweet talkers because somehow they end up getting the girls to at minimum go 50-50, but usually to pay for a lot. And they don't even you think about I mean, you'll see it too with like younger men and like older women, but you see it even with girls and boys that are the same age.
Y'all better tighten
I
up
don't
out
want to
there.
Nah, I swear, bro. And I think a lot of the girls go there and they're just like, well, yeah, it's like I come from a country where I it's easier to make money and he comes from a country where it's not as easy. That is true. And so do what you want to do, but I'm just saying know that there are certain guys, not all guys, but there are certain guys that are specifically going after you because they know you might have that mentality. So that is something to be aware of. Um but I would say, if you are aware of that, then I would say, yeah, it is pretty normal for, the guy to pay, for the guy to drop you home, um, for the guy to be the one to ask, definitely 100%. For the guy to usually pick the location. So in many ways, similar to I think what we're used to.
Okay. Are people usually meeting in person more or do they use the apps?
Hmm. I don't know. I think I did have the apps the first time, or maybe even the second time I went. And
But it kind of
I,
seems like it's like a very social, like I feel like
yeah,
from what you're describing, it's such a social place that
yeah,
if you're
it
if you're
is.
going to the same place and seeing the same people
Yep.
every other night, right? Wouldn't you just go have a conversation?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And even and yeah, I guess like let's compare like let's just say for me, like if I go out, like I am going to go out later tonight, but I can guarantee there will be some guy looking at me that's just not going to approach me because for whatever reason, like and he's just going to be staring at me. But if I go out in Tanzania, I feel like it's much more likely for a guy to be like I'm just going to go talk to her even if I'm with male friends. But because, like I go out a lot with my male friends here in Albania, and um, I think that deters a lot of men from approaching me, which is understandable. But in Tanzania, they're like, they can, they read the signs. They're like, well, actually, that's tea too. Even if you're with a guy, another guy might come up to you and try to talk to you. Like they are ready to approach. They're very ready.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
Albania is a little bit more conservative in that sense that
Yes.
like there's an assumption that
Yeah.
even if you don't know this man, if there's a
Yes.
man in your proximity,
Yes.
you are
You're his property.
I was trying to think of another way to say that, but they're assuming that this man has jurisdiction over you,
Yes.
so they don't
Exactly.
approach.
Exactly.
They do not approach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so Tanzania is a little different where it's kind of like everybody's free game until you're married. You can.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, even after you're married, I don't know, bro, but that's a I don't know nothing about that. I'm just saying stories that I heard. Like even after
Okay.
you're married, they might still approach, or especially when they're married, they might still approach you. Like, so
Okay.
that is another thing to be aware of. Yes, actually, ladies, ask if he's married, and if you know, maybe go visit his house, do a little
Is
investigation.
is Tanzania one of those countries where it's common practice or it's an accepted practice to take on multiple wives?
Oh yeah, that definitely does happen. I would say it's not like most people you meet are doing that, but it definitely is accepted if you're Muslim. You can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I heard
Definitely.
I heard that if they're doing that, they are able to provide provisions for each wife. Isn't
Yeah,
that
probably.
a part of it? I feel like that's like a part of it. Like if you take on a wife, you should be able to provide the same for each wife. I
Yeah, I
definitely
mean,
heard that
I,
from
I feel like
somewhere.
that definitely makes sense. I mean, one thing I'll say, I mean, well, there's definitely people that, well, I mean, to each their own, but I would say, okay, I don't know. I've heard a lot of things from a lot of people, but some of my friends will be like, oh, it's very uncommon for a man to deny his child here because it's not that expensive to raise a child here. So why would he deny his child? So, like, I mean, for me, let's say for me, if I have a kid there, it probably would be expensive because I would want to send them to private school and things like that. But just to like have a family, um, I mean, I guess that's something else I'll touch on. Like, you don't see that many homeless people there. You don't see that many starving people there. Not everyone lives a luxurious life by any means, but um, there's not so many people, yeah, that are homeless. Usually people have their family, they have their support to some degree. And also, I'll also say, like, in addition, like, prices have not raised that much since the first time I went there 7 years ago. Whereas, like, prices in the US have more than
Crazy.
doubled on basically everything. Yeah. So
Triple.
they have a lot of things going right for them there.
Yeah.
That kind of got off the topic we were talking about, but
No, it's fine. It's fine. And speaking of prices, I did want to touch on
yeah,
like kind of the cost of living. So like when you
yeah.
go there, obviously you've been there for short stints of time just to visit. But could you give like a range of how much you can anticipate to pay for like something like accommodations and food?
Mhm. So if you're gonna stay longer term, okay, so when I was there last year, I did stay for 4 months ish, and my rent was $500, but the accommodation was not that nice, but the location was really good, so it was sort of the trade-off. It is okay. I like to compare it to Albania. I would say the rent there is more expensive. Um, and the accommodations tend to not be as nice as the ones in Albania. Certain things, like, I mean, electricity there can be really pricey, especially if you're using air conditioning. electricity can be really expensive. On the flip side, though, food is way more affordable than here in Albania. Water is more affordable. Um, Nights out, entertainment, all of that is way more affordable. Clothes is way more affordable. Appliances are more affordable. So yeah, things like rent and electricity are more expensive, but transportation, food, entertainment, can be way less. So like let's say, yeah, I was paying 500 in rent. My electricity now, if I'm using the AC, it can get up to like 80. Um, my internet, I don't remember, I think it was like 30 a month, which is kind of expensive. Also, the data that you need for your phone can be really expensive too, so that might be another 20 to even more depending. Um, then food, I mean, it really depends. Do you cook at home? Even eating out is not that much. You know, you can get a decent meal for literally 5, $6. So, it depends how much you eat. Then there's also things like gym membership, etc. So I would say you can be okay with $1,000, but it would be better if you had more than $1,000 a month.
And like, would you recommend not using Airbnb to find accommodations or yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't, yeah, I would recommend not doing that long term. I think when you first get there, that's probably one of your only options, really. I mean, unless you want to pay a lot more for a hotel. So, the difficulty though with finding a rental, like I was able to get mine for 3 months, which is good, but I had to, like most places make you pay 3 months up front. So if you have the money for that, great. If you don't, that might make things a little bit more difficult.
Mm, okay. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing this is like, okay, you get there, let's say you get an Airbnb, and then you need to find places on the ground. How do you go about, is this like
Mm.
Facebook listings? Are there any
Mm.
website that you would recommend? Is it just kind of like who you know, like get tapped in with the local community?
If you can get tapped in with the local community, that would be your best bet. I would recommend that pretty much everywhere, even in Albania as well. Like if you can get tapped in, that would be the best. There is a website. I'm happy to also, when I make my comment on the video, I'm happy to also provide that website. Facebook, I haven't used here before, but I assume there's also options. There usually is. But the way I found my apartment last year was a friend of mine was living in that apartment building and just asked them, like, do you have any units that are going to be available, like, starting around this time? And they were like, yeah. So,
Okay, that makes sense.
mhm.
Khadija asked, how's the Wi-Fi and the power situation?
So the power situation has gotten better. Like last time when I was there, you know, there would be frequent outages. So that's why it was important to me to find a building that had a generator, which was something that makes, you know, certain apartments a little bit more expensive. Um, so we had that going for us. But this time when I was there, I stayed places that didn't have a generator, and the outages were very rare. It didn't happen much, and it didn't last for as long as it did in some years prior. The Wi-Fi is okay. The Wi-Fi and the like also the phone data connection is okay. It's definitely gotten better since the first time I was there, but I mean it's not going to be what you would expect in the US, you know. So something to consider. But the thing is if you're staying longer term, then I mean you can pay to get better, more reliable Wi-Fi, you know. That's something that is possible. It's available to you. It just comes at a premium.
Mm. So basically, like if you were to work in like a cafe or something, you probably have better
Mhm.
Wi-Fi than sometimes your apartment.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's probably more stable. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Blue is asking, how was the weather in Tanzania?
Beautiful. But that's actually also a big consideration because the rainy season there gets kind of crazy. In Dar es Salaam, they do have many floods. And even if there's not floods, sometimes it will just be raining literally so hard all day that you just don't even want to go anywhere and do anything. So I was actually, when I went there last year, I was thinking of staying forever, but the rainy season hit, and I was like, man, I'm not able to go and do anything for like days at a time. So that is definitely something to consider. It is hot and humid there, beautiful beach weather. The best times to go are like from late December till around now ish. Starting towards the end of this month, it's going to get to be rainy season again. Then the next best time to go would be like our summer months, which is their winter months, June till August, September ish, and then begins another rainy season. Um,
Does it
but
flood there?
it does, it
Is
does.
there flooding? Yeah. Oh, hate it. Okay, so if someone only had a week to spend in Tanzania, what would
Mm.
you recommend they have to do?
Okay, great. This is I love this question because actually, guys, I'm thinking. Let me know. Should I do a group trip? Like, if I organize a group trip, would you guys come? But let me tell you what I think you should do.
Drop down
Okay,
in the comments and answer. If Maya organized a group trip to Tanzania, who's going? Who's
who's
interested?
going?
And
Who's
like the
coming?
video while
Listen,
you're at it, because I see how many of
like
y'all are
the
in the
video.
room.
Like the
Like the
video.
video.
Yes, but anyways, okay. Zanzibar, I mean, people love Zanzibar. You got to go to Zanzibar. And and people don't give Dar es Salaam enough credit. I think you need to go to Dar es Salaam, and I think you need to go for a night or two out on the town. You need that. And safari, of course. Everyone wants to go on safari, and you can go on safari from Dar es Salaam. Now they have a train actually to take you from Dar es Salaam to, I believe, Mikumi National Park. So hop on the train, go do your safari. I will say safari tends to be a little bit more expensive in Tanzania than other African countries. So that's something to keep in mind. But I would say, yeah, do Zanzibar, do the beach vibe, do Stone Town, come to Dar es Salaam, see some culture, see some nightlife, and then go do safari. That's my recommendation.
Okay, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
there any sort of like local cultural experiences that you enjoy?
I mean, it's mostly music, but I mean, there's plenty of places to see live music on a given night. Dar es Salaam is a huge city, um, and there's many different opportunities to see some live music and dancing. Um, and then also, I mean, you saw with Samaki Samaki, it's like the dance, like a lot of these clubs have dancers on payroll that just go out and dance with people, and people love it. That's one of the things that expats love about Dar es Salaam so much is the nightlife and like feeling encouraged to dance, encouraged to step outside their comfort zone, and not feeling bad for not knowing the steps or for not having rhythm. Like people over and over again tell me like, oh, I feel so comfortable here. I feel like everyone just wants me to vibe and have fun. So that's important. They have actually in Dar es Salaam, there is a museum village, which I think is super cool. It's one of the coolest, um, like, museums you can go to. It's just basically an outdoor museum with a bunch of different types of um, houses that like different tribes from around Tanzania like traditionally make, and it's so cool to go there and visit and like go inside, and you can see how the people live. And they also at that place as well, they usually have like local dancers come and perform a little show, and you should tip them generously. So that's something I would definitely recommend.
All of this is making me cringe. So,
Why?
It's so extroverted. I'm even
Oh,
uncomfortable listening to it. So Faith
no,
is
it's okay.
asking, the rainy season in Costa Rica was of biblical
Yeah.
proportions. I'm
That
sorry you had that
is
experience.
that is relatable. Yeah, pretty similar in Dar es Salaam.
Khadijah is also asking, what's the best meal you've ever had?
Listen, the chicken there, I don't know why I forgot to mention this earlier there. The chicken is so good. Like the chicken is such good quality. And then also it's like there's so many different like places that you go and like everyone has their own way of seasoning it and stuff. The chicken is
Mm.
so good. Like chicken, bro. But also pilau is really good. I definitely recommend pilau. Um, what else is really good? Fried cassava. Like you can go to a lot of places in the morning, like there'll just be like women out on the street with like a big metal pot thing and they're just frying up cassava and you go get it. You know, it's really affordable and it's a great little starchy breakfast. Those are my favorites. And then the mangoes, the mango smoothie, the mango juice, mango banana smoothie, mango this, mango that. Yeah, really delicious.
That sounds delicious. Dr. Blue
Yeah.
asked, what was the most superstitious thing you've learned there? Are they very superstitious
Oh,
people? That's a good question.
that is a good question. That's a hard question. That's a hard question. That's a really good question. Superstitions. I mean, the only one that's coming to mind right now, unfortunately, is about when someone passes away. You know, in their Muslim tradition there, which not everyone there is Muslim, but they have to bury them like the next day. Like they have to bury them quite quickly. So, um, I don't know if you would call that superstition or rather that would be religion. Man, superstitions. This isn't a superstition, but something I noticed there. So the word pole in Swahili means sorry, but people say it there. Like I was so confused when I first went there because people would be saying it to me for something they didn't do. You know, it's like, okay, for example, I was like playing soccer and I fell in a hole. And then my friend I told you about, Hadija, like made it such a point to tell me Pole, to tell me sorry. And I was like, girl, why you
Mm.
tell me sorry? Did you dig the damn hole? Why are you saying sorry? So I think it's they really value showing empathy to people, which I think is really, really sweet. But also I think it is just like a custom. Like they're just used to doing it as well. That's a hard question
Hmm.
though. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
I love
Superstitions,
it.
man. Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about safety in the beginning, and you gave some
Mm.
great tips. So if anybody is joining the conversation, like go back and watch the replay. But as a woman who has traveled back to Tanzania frequently by yourself, you've obviously built community now. But what advice would you give other women who are solo travelers about going to Tanzania?
In terms of safety,
Yes,
or
in terms of safety, like,
okay,
is it a place where you feel like they would be safe and comfortable navigating by themselves, or is it a place where you feel like a group trip is probably better?
I think you can definitely be safe and navigate by yourself, but I would not recommend it if you've never traveled solo before. You know, we have those places that we consider kind of the beginner places where it's more similar to your own culture and you're just starting to get the hang of like navigating a new place. I would say you wouldn't want this to be your first new experience in your life. You do need to have some sort of experience getting used to different places, but you can definitely do it though. Like you can definitely do it as a solo female traveler. My tips would be, girl, you got to make sure you have data. Like that's really important. I mean, as I said, Bolt and Uber is a thing, and that's just going to save you so much headache and so much time and money as well. So have your data, have Bolts or Uber. Um, don't, I mean, pretty basic stuff. Don't go somewhere if you don't feel like you can trust the people. And that doesn't only go for men, because, for example, for men you don't know or trust. Like, for example, I last time I was there, like last year, there was a Diamond concert again. I was there with my friends, and like there was some girl, like a local girl, coming up to us and like really trying to get us to dance. Like she was really trying to encourage us to dance. And one of my friends was like, "Do you trust that girl?" I was like, "I don't know that girl. I don't trust her." And then I ended up going home because people started getting their phones stolen. I'm not saying necessarily for sure it was that girl, but she may have been, for example, getting people to like, you know, get off their
Loosen
guard and
up.
get more
Yeah.
loose. Yeah, exactly. So that someone else could come and steal things. So definitely like have your wits about you. And if you decide to trust someone, make an educated decision about that. But I mean, that's something you should do everywhere. But just in terms of the pickpocketing is a big one that you want to have your wits about you for.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
and
not
with
for
the men
travel
thing,
newbies.
sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And with the men situation though, I mean, one thing I'll say is that I will say that there's not as much education about consent there as, for example, as there is in America. So just keep that in mind. Like, in America, you expect if you say no, that you would definitely expect the person to stop. In Tanzania, that I've heard many stories where, that can go a bit left. I'm not saying necessarily that those guys are going to be violent towards you, but that you may need to not only say no, but to get yourself out of that situation, and be conscious as well. If you're going to be consuming alcohol, be conscious of how much you're consuming.
Yeah, and I would go so far as to say, and I'm just gonna say this as a we are very whole positive over here. Get your life.
Hmm.
But if you are traveling somewhere by yourself, be mindful of your drinks if you choose to drink. Um, Also, make sure that you have a way to get home safely. I would not go home with a man if I'm
I
alone
wouldn't
in a
either.
foreign country.
Yep.
I would have to have some kind of community. I would have spent some time building some kind of community there before I even did that. So obviously it's your choice, right? But make intelligent decisions. If you're by yourself, know that you have to also take care of yourself. Do not
Yep.
rely on other people to be kind towards you. Take care of
Yes.
yourself in any situation. Um, and I'm saving this question for last because I feel like this is going to start a little drama. So, if you
Perfect.
had to choose Tanzania or
Oh,
Albania, I mean, we see where you are now.
I know. We do see where I am now. I have chosen Albania. Oh, that's tough though. I mean, it could change. It could change next year. It could change this year. But one of the things though that made me choose Albania is the rainy season. Like the rainy season in Tanzania can really be depressing. It can really just be a whole lot of nothing for days and days and days on end. So that is one of the big reasons I chose Albania, but I could change my mind later. Who knows? Who knows? I know. I know. My ship is. I'm sorry. I could change my mind later. We'll see.
But it could also be anywhere, right? Like, that's the beauty of being a nomad. You choose to
Yes.
live
Agreed.
anywhere.
Exactly.
Hey, nomadic islanders.
Hey,
Girl,
y'all.
hello. I know you just woke up. Where are you? Um, okay, so I didn't kept you long enough.
This was
Uh,
this was nice.
if you guys, this was nice. I love chatting with you as always. Thanks for coming
Me
on the
too.
channel. Is there
Thank you for
anything
having me.
that we didn't mention that you wanted to cover?
Let me look at my notes real quick.
You had notes?
Oh, I did have notes, and there was and the only thing that I missed in my notes that we didn't actually get to discuss is actually about money. We didn't talk about money at all. So we can talk about money real quick. So it is, largely a cash society. There are places you can use card, but it's not as common. But there's actually another option in almost everywhere that accepts cash. They also accept mobile pay. So there's something called M-Pesa. There's also something called Tigo Pay. And it's usually connected to your phone number when you get a SIM card. So you'll have an account with M-Pesa. I use M-Pesa. There's also Tigo Pay. There's other ones. And you can basically load it up with money and pay from your phone. So it's kind of like a Venmo,
Right.
but it's like directly linked to your phone number.
But no
So if you're
cards.
no cards, nothing. So it's basically just like you can pay literally just like with your phone. Literally like if I go to here, I can like type in something. I'm not a whiz at it, but there's a way to do it where you can just type it in, blah blah blah, type the number you want to send to, type the amount of money you want to send and then click it. But they also have an app where you can do it. No card, nothing. Um, yeah,
I
this is
feel
the
like
M-Pesa app.
that's a Vodafone app, isn't
It
it?
is.
So it's
So
a
M-Pesa is connected to Vodafone, whatever.
okay.
Um, but yeah, you can just send money. You can pay at businesses with this. You can pay your friends for this. If you and your friends go out for a drink and they spot you, you can pay them back, whatever. Um, so it's not something because it can be kind of hard to set up. You usually need to set it up in person. So if you're only going for a week, you don't need it. But if you're staying longer term, I recommend doing
Okay. I feel like wouldn't it just be easier if businesses set up like a card system? Or I guess is
that.
it
Well,
are they paying less fees using this app than they would if they had to get
yeah. Yeah, and there's also a lot of like under the table business. There's also, like again, as I said, a lot of the food you might eat would just be like little food stands or just people from the side of the road. Um, yeah, even restaurants. No. Like there's so many outdoor businesses, like somewhat outdoor, like semi indoor, semi outdoor, where it's just like, they might not even have electricity the full time. They might not even have internet, which are things you need for the card system, the card reader.
fair,
So
solid?
with this, it gets the job done.
Wait, because you're talking about eating outside, it made me think about getting sick. So you got
Didn't
vaccinated.
touch on that. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
so
didn't
like
touch on that.
you have to get vaccinated for malaria to go to Tanzania, but you've actually gotten malaria, right?
There's no vaccine for malaria. You have to take a
Oh.
daily pill. So this last time when I went, I was like, I'm just not gonna get the pill because I'm gonna live there forever. And if I get malaria, I'm just gonna get malaria. Like I'm not gonna take the pill every day for the rest of my life. So I did get malaria. Yes, I did. But it was fine. Yeah, it was fine because I was in Dar es Salaam. If you're outside, maybe in a village, it might be more difficult to find access to good health care. But malaria is fully treatable. It's just that not everywhere has the medicine and not all the people have the money to pay for the medicine. But I was able to go to a private hospital and get treated, quickly and efficiently. Everything was good. It was clean. There was actually really good hospital food. Although I was, sick and I wasn't feeling like eating it, the food at the hospital was
You up
really
here
good
talking
for a
about
hospital.
you up here talking about the food. Well, how much was the bill? Do you
Girl, I don't
remember?
know that. I
What?
don't know. I, I
What?
didn't pay it. I didn't pay it, but it was like 400 or something like that for 3 nights in the hospital. I didn't pay that.
Okay, so three nights in the hospital is about $400, including the medical treatment, like
Yeah.
seeing a doctor, the whole shebang. So you get malaria, you have to take a pill. You went to the hospital to get the pill. You saw the doctor, you stayed in the hospital.
No, it's
What
not
are
a
the
pill.
symptoms
You
like?
have So it was, yeah, it was fever, really bad fever, like shivering. I remember because I was like still taking my Albanian class online at the time. So I was just like in my Albanian class, like shivering on camera.
Oh my God.
And I was like, at first I was like, oh, let's see if this passes. And then I was like, no, I'm actually not okay. I
Don't
couldn't,
encourage her, please.
I'm okay, girl. But, but uh yeah, no, like I was like, let me just see if this goes away, but then I was just like, nah, I think I know what this is. And the thing is too, you usually like so you get it from mosquito bites. Usually after that happens, you it takes like a couple weeks to kick in, and I knew that like a couple weeks prior to that, like I had been bitten a lot by mosquitoes. So I was like, yeah, it's my time. I have it now. And I went to the hospital and I was like, I think it's this. They were really worried because, like, I mean, most people there obviously get it. And so if you haven't had it, then it's more concerning. If you've had it before, it's like, okay, they're not so worried about you. But yeah, they hooked me up to IV antibiotics, I believe. So it's not a pill, it's like hooked up to an IV. No, it was, yeah, in my hand actually. Hooked up like all day, man. Antibiotics, fluids, nutrients, or whatever, all day. It was rough. It was really hard. But you know, the hospital dealt with it, very well. So
Okay. So,
I
like,
can't
if
complain.
you don't want to risk your life and get malaria, you would take the pill, but you would have to take it every
Yes.
single day that you're there.
You do have to. I don't. I've heard that there's ones you can take like every week or something like that, but yeah, at the time when I first went there, it was every day, and the thing is as well, there are side effects. So it's like after you take it, like you have to take it the same time every day, I think after a meal or something like that, and you can't go to lay down for like an hour afterwards or something because then you get the worst stomach pain. And I definitely have done it before, and the stomach pain is bad. Like you feel like you're getting punched in the stomach. It's so bad. So, you know, if
Okay.
you're going there for a short periodically time, then you should definitely take the pill. But if you're long term, that's your choice. I'm not going to tell you not to take it. That's for sure. Do you?
But is it a thing where like you get it one time and you develop like an immunity towards it, or is it just like everybody's
Yeah.
falling out with malaria every other week? Like, oh, I
No,
got
not every other
malaria.
week, but I mean, you're probably going to get it again at some point in your life if you decide to live there forever. Like people usually do get it, but it'll be years and years in between instances of getting it.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sucks.
I mean,
That
it
sucks.
sucks, but I think also like they say if you haven't had it or if you have not been in uh Africa for 5 years or like a place that has malaria for 5 years, like they're worried for you. But if you're there, and you do build up somewhat of an immunity. So even if you get it, it's probably not going to be as bad as that first time. It's more worrisome for children, actually. So if you bring your children there, definitely get them the medication.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I got, you guys. Again, thank you so much for coming on to my channel yet again.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we appreciate your openness and your fun stories.
Thank you.
Um, Everybody who's watching now, thank you for watching. Everybody who is catching the replay, thank you for watching. Like the video. Drop down in the comment section. Are we going to Tanzania with Maya? Are we? I
Are
don't
we?
know. Drop down in the
I
comment
think we
section. Let
should.
let
I
us
think we
know.
should. Hmm.
Maybe we should. I won't be there. Um,
Oh, why?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Click the notification button so you are notified when I go live. Um, if you are a black traveler, if you're somebody who bops around, hit me up. Do you want to come on the channel and talk about your experiences abroad? Maybe. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? You guys probably know about my copywriting course. Click the link in the description button if you want to learn how to work from anywhere copywriting. And that's all I got, y'all. Peace out. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye
Enjoy
bye.
your Sunday.